I don't know if
It's recorded?
I think it's right. That
It is.
that little red.
Yeah.
Okay. The red dot always means
Don't mind me, y'all. This is just a.
Are y'all? I guess. Should y'all set up the room for like
Right now? What the debating?
like 4 minutes before the
That's how I was getting ready. And then I'll just sit in the front. Then I have to figure out my left is my left or something.
And A.
And
I got confused.
What's going on here?
A long time.
All right. If y'all want to start getting set up, you are allowed to have your own notes. You can use your laptop, cell phone, whatever. Make sure you have your own timer. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to put a minute up. My finger up when you have a minute. If I'm not too into you guys, because I will be taking notes, do not get intimidated by me taking notes. Don't let me like yell out. Y'all got this. So 5 minutes. I will ask y'all maybe like in a minute or so what your names are because I don't have y'all in my reservation. So just so I can know how to give feedback. I won't call it great feedback. And I will let y'all know when to go. So I'll say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That's when the timer will go. Timer will start after I say go. And once that timer goes off, I will have my own timer. You have to stop talking. So, stop. Question?
Could we move the podium up here possibly?
Yeah.
To be more centered so I can set myself down. I don't know if we need to.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I move the camera
Yeah.
in? Just so it's like charging while it's recording? And
If
put it
you
in
don't
the
mind.
corner? Yeah,
It's,
okay.
oh, it's like, is it okay if I pull that up? Maybe I could.
Maybe not, but I think it should go back a little bit. And we do have 3
How do you
minutes.
charge?
I think this is like,
The furthest it'll go.
yes.
Is it in the frame of the room?
Well, they're leaving it right there.
Just so we can put our phones down something right here or something?
Yeah, that's cool with me. That works with me. Maybe I can just put the camera
Like over here, because it needs to be.
just a little bit more back.
Well, I'm gonna put. Should I put it on a chair again or no?
Yeah.
Do you want me to make it taller? Right, so it's like eye level and not like looking back.
I thought she said, do you want me to get taller? I was like,
Spontaneously just.
Yeah. You know
Like,
what?
if you know how
No,
to do
because
that,
I
teach
did
me.
this stuff all of like my younger life. So the fact that I didn't remember to do that is embarrassing.
Whoa, it's tall now.
That should be fine.
Yeah, I think it's.
That should be perfect now. Oh, what would I do without you?
Thank you.
Like,
Thank,
say that.
thank you, Delilah.
Thank you, Delilah. All right, I love your name. Let me see.
Oh, it's still recording. That's annoying. Y'all got good lighting in here. Beautiful
Okay, y'all,
sun.
don't be nervous. 2 minutes. So, is everyone here? Both teams are here? Okay. We have another judge coming. Hopefully he's not late, but he's coming out of a class. So,
Worst case scenario, we just come into it.
John. Oh, he's a debater. Well, I didn't just see that, but oh well. If I can push through my day with what just happened, y'all can too.
Are you on time today? Oh, I was just asking if you're having a good day.
Oh, me? Yeah. You know, I'm just, I'm still cute.
Wouldn't have noticed if you didn't point it out.
Gotta make fun of yourself first before y'all can do it. Okay. Any final questions? Any little burps that y'all want to let out? Last minute of 15.
Chill out.
Okay, remember y'all, it's just me. Y'all got this. I'm proud of your efforts. You fellas, proud of your efforts too.
Oh wait, what is your name again?
Cynthia, I'm Cynthia. I'm the other team. I teach at 12:30. All right, so it's 11 o'clock. I am going to put my timer on really quickly. If y'all don't mind telling me who is what speaker. And we will go with the affirmative team first. So if y'all don't mind telling me who's the first speaker?
I'm the first speaker.
Delilah? Second speaker? for affirmative? One more time.
James.
James. Third speaker for affirmative.
Genesis.
Genesis, love your name. And last but certainly not least, you again? Okay. And then for the no, I'm just playing the other team. First speaker,
Macy.
Macy. Second,
Tyler.
Charlie. Third,
Sonia.
Sonia.
Second, it's John.
Hey, John. And last speaker.
Mason.
One more time, I'm sorry.
Mason.
Mason? All right. We can go ahead and get started with our affirmative speaker. Y'all know the organization. Do I need to go over it one more time?
I would like to hear it. I don't know what this.
Okay. So we are talking about, or I'll let y'all go ahead and say what we're talking about today.
We're talking about vaccine mandates for specifically public colleges in the United States.
In the order that we are going to go in, so if my phone can hurry up. So we have an affirmative team, meaning they are for it, the vaccine on college campuses, and we have a negative team saying that they're against it. So the order is the constructive speeches, which is the introduction, and then we'll have a crossfire, which is when you can debate back and forth between the first speakers from the constructive speech. After that, it will be the rebuttal / attack. So based off of the information that the teams have said within their introduction, they're allowed to rebuttal that. And then after that, they will have another crossfire. They can say what was correct or incorrect or however they want to angle that. Oh yes, you guys have 2 minutes. So let me know. I will keep track of that. 2 minutes. You can use those 2 minutes before we get to defensive. Okay? So after that, after the crossfire, we're in defensive. After defensive, it's a grand crossfire. It's going to get chaotic. Everybody gets to talk at the same time. And then after that, as I like to call it, it's the bow or the cherry on top of the ice cream. You're just wrapping it up and saying whether you're for it or against it.
Super cool.
All right, so Delilah, I am going to start my timer. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
John F. Kennedy once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. For without a country, you have no rights." The World Health Organization defines coronavirus disease, or COVID-19, as an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Many people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. Older people and those with underlying medical conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, or cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. Anyone can get sick with COVID-19 and become seriously ill or die at any age. We affirm all public colleges and universities should adopt COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Firstly, we will define the following. Vaccine mandates are defined as a law that says you must be vaccinated to participate in certain things. For this debate, we'd also like to define normalcy as pre-COVID times. A variant is a virus that has mutated. When a virus enters the body, it invades human cells and replicates. When a virus makes copies of itself, it sometimes changes, and these are called mutations. The purpose of the COVID vaccine is used to protect the general public and reduce the spread of COVID and reduce the severity of COVID symptoms if you were to get COVID. If we mandate the COVID vaccine, students, faculty, and staff will have some immunity, which will keep everyone safer than if they didn't have the vaccine. It's important to maximize the number of students, faculty, and staff who are fully vaccinated on campus in order to slow the spread and, as a result, minimize the number of variants that continue to develop. To this date, approximately a year and 10 months since the first case was detected in the U.S., the CDC found cases with 11 new COVID variants. 10 of those variants are classified as variants being monitored, meaning they're new but not threatening. One, however, is currently classified as a variant of concern, known as the Delta variant. Luckily, the COVID-19 vaccine, approved or authorized in the United States, are highly effective at preventing severe disease and death. This includes protection from the Delta variant. The vaccine provides the best protection against serious illness and death. As long as the coronavirus spreads through the population, mutations will continue to develop and the Delta variant family will continue to evolve. The more people who are unvaccinated and infected, the greater chance there are for mutations to occur. Limiting the spread of the virus through maintaining COVID-19 safeguards, mask wearing, physical distancing, hand hygiene, and getting vaccinated gives the vaccine fewer chances to change. These practices also reduce the spread of infectious variants if they do occur. In the meantime, we need to continue all our efforts to prevent viral transmission and vaccination as soon as possible and as soon as we can. More than 177 million Americans are fully vaccinated against coronavirus, but confirmed cases have shot up in recent weeks to an average of about 140,000 per day and an average of about 1,000 deaths, according to the data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Most of the spread and the vast majority of severe illness and death is occurring among those who are not yet fully vaccinated. So-called breakthrough infections in vaccinated people occur but tend to be far less dangerous. With this information in mind, students claim that having the COVID vaccine makes them feel safer. More than 100 New York colleges have a mandate in place, according to a tracker from the Chronicle of Higher Education. Many of these universities said that more than 80% of their student body were partially or fully vaccinated as of mid-August. In many cases, the rate is higher than the general vaccination rate for college-age people in the state. In New York, about 64% of people between the age of 16 to 25 have received at least one dose of the vaccine, according to the state statistics. Colleges have also experienced significant spikes in enrollment compared to last year. Montgomery College, located in Maryland's most populous county, has announced a vaccine mandate last month, with employees required to show their proof of shots by November 8th and students by January 7th. The college, which has more than 17,000 students, plans to allow some medical exemptions and would be required to undergo weekly testing if they come to campus. Montgomery College has not observed any major spikes of infection connected to its campuses since the fall semester began. Even so, the college determined that a vaccine mandate was needed in a county where vaccination is widespread. As the U.S. Supreme Court held in 1905 in the Jacobson v. Massachusetts stated, in a very well-ordered society charged with the duty of conserving the safety of its members, the right of individuals in respect of its liberty may at times, under the pressure of great dangers, be subject to restraint, to be enforced by reasonable regulations as the safety of the general public may demand. The Supreme makes it clear that the liberty secured by the Constitution of the United States to every person within its jurisdiction does not import an absolute right to each person to be, at all times and in all circumstances, wholly freed from restraint. There are manifold restraints to which every person is necessarily subject for the common good. Liberty is only freedom from restraint under conditions.
Time. Okay. Sorry. Macy, correct? Okay, ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, go.
Hi, my name is Macy Coates, and I will be giving the negative stance on this debate. COVID-19 vaccines should not be mandated in public universities because it is currently unnecessary. Merriam-Webster defines a mandate as an official order to do something. It is currently unnecessary to have a COVID-19 vaccine mandate, due to the amount of people already getting the vaccine. When comparing two schools of similar body population, one with a vaccine mandate and one without, such as the University of North Texas with 40,000 students and the University of Colorado Boulder with 35,000 students, we can see there's only a 1.52 difference in COVID cases between the two. UNT has 14 active COVID cases with a whopping 3.52% of positive COVID cases across the student body population. University of Colorado Boulder, with the vaccine mandate, has 2% positive COVID cases out of the student body population. This is interesting because both campuses have a quote-unquote normal college experience defined by football games, student body activities, in-person classes, etc. When researched why the University of Colorado Boulder implemented the COVID vaccine mandate, it states on their website that the university is taking action to mitigate the possibility of future spikes in COVID-19 cases on the Boulder campus and in our community. This is interesting when it mentions the protection of possible future spikes because the United Kingdom has a new strand by the name of COVID-19 Delta Plus. The UK has reported 9 out of 10 people being fully vaccinated, therefore it does not protect against future spikes. Secondly, regarding herd immunity, according to Our World Data's website, 58% of Americans are fully vaccinated with an additional 10% that have at least gotten their first shot. Herd immunity, as according to Houston Methodist website, is said to be around 70%. How the FDA approved this vaccine is concerning considering how quickly it was brought out to the public. The vaccine was approved using EUA approval, which according to the FDA's website allows for the FDA to authorize unapproved medical products or unapproved uses of approved medical products to be used in an emergency to diagnose, treat, or prevent serious or life-threatening diseases or conditions. This challenges the legitimacy of the vaccine. In the case of the United Kingdom, I spoke of earlier, the vaccine requires a new vaccine to be able to fight against new strands, such as the Delta Plus. This would require booster shots, which are another shot if you would like to be continually protected against all new strands. The difference between now and earlier this year, you can mix and match which booster shots you get regardless of the first vaccine you receive. This sounds a lot like the flu shot, which is a similar story. There's a new mutation that needs to be vaccinated against every year, but the flu shot isn't mandated in public universities in the United States, although it is a very similar situation. In the case of Jacobson v. Massachusetts, the court rules that public safety and immunity is more important and takes precedence over individual bodily autonomy in the jurisdiction of a smallpox vaccine. That's totally fair. However, the court also states that if a law goes too far in restricting liberty, if the law is in place for too long or reaches too far, or if the goal of the law can be achieved by less invasive measures, then the court may well strike down this law. Vaccine mandates insensitive to certain ethnic and religious groups can isolate individuals from society. Religious exemption is imperative, and the government should have no role in the determination of whether a belief or a certain religious group counts as good enough to be exempted from the vaccine. Ethnic groups that may not have trust in the FDA or the USPHS are African American people who have experienced medical horrors from the United States Public Health Service. To name a very short list of offenses toward this community of people in American history would be the Tuskegee syphilis study and numerous accounts of black women being used as test subjects for new birthing practices. Finally, another example of distrust and unjust power the government has placed on minority groups would be Native Americans, who have a long history of negative experiences with healthcare systems in the U.S., from sterilization to discrimination in doctors' offices. Finally, pregnant women were completely excluded from the clinical trials that were conducted in order to validate the safety of the COVID-19 vaccine. They claim it is unlikely to pose a ruse from the pregnant person or the fetus. This is from the CDC, but honestly, this is just a shot in the dark. These groups are significant to the argument because vaccines, if we begin to mandate vaccines, despite religious or ethnic concerns and or trust in the USPHS or the FDA, we isolate said groups, considering the number of Americans at least partially vaccinated is only 2% away from reaching herd immunity. Isolating said groups would be immoral and would be better to leave the vaccine as voluntary with incentives, as we have seen many public universities do, and to continue encouraging mask wearing and cleanliness throughout the student body population. In conclusion, considering the numbers of Americans at least partially vaccinated is only 2% away from reaching herd immunity, isolating said groups would be immoral. And especially considering Jacobson v. Massachusetts saying that it can be achieved by less invasive measures such as mask wearing, I think that we are doing just fine with that. Thank you.
All right. Now, if I could get the last one to go up there, so things will close on that. Okay. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you would allow me to ask the first question, I wanted to ask where you got the knowledge of what students said they feel more comfortable with the vaccine after they got the vaccine, when they felt more comfortable afterwards. How widespread was that study? And how many people did they ask that question?
It was in the New York colleges, and it wasn't necessarily a survey, but it was noted in the amount of enrollment. And you mentioned that even though there are equal amount, you mentioned that even though there's a vaccine mandate in one school, not a vaccine mandate in another, the numbers of COVID cases were similar, but you also failed to mention the severity of the symptoms. When you have a vaccine, the severity of the symptoms are minimized, therefore safer, and you're less likely to die.
That's also true because younger populations also have a less chance of contracting the disease and dying from it as well. So I would be willing to argue that not only are we almost at herd immunity within colleges, but we also are a lot younger stereotypically.
Okay, but you're also forgetting the faculty and staff. They are the older population. They're here too, and they'll also be mandated for the vaccine as well. We need to think about their safety. It's not just the students.
So what about herd immunity? Are you not?
We're not going to touch on herd immunity because that idea has been dropped by scientists because there is no real number.
There's no evidence for herd immunity, even though it was on MayoClinic.org's website and a lot of studies. Herd immunity is not.
Yeah, it's an idea, but there's no exact number. We can reach that said number of herd immunity, but there's no promise that it is effective.
Okay, so I would want to ask you, how do you plan to enforce the vaccine mandate and keep accountability for all institutions? Would you mandate booster shots, and how often would you do it every time there's a new strain? How would you mandate that and make sure everyone does that?
You see, it's not the first time that we have booster shots. Think of the
But
meningitis.
it's the first time that we have a reoccurring shot for every
It's meningitis.
for
especially
the
here in
every
Texas.
single time that it mutates. It's like the flu.
Yeah, okay,
So
but
how would you
meningitis.
do
I
that?
continue with meningitis.
Okay. Can I get a chance to the podium, please?
We'd like to take our 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay, full 2 minutes, or would you, want the timer to go and then you tell me when to stop?
We'll do a minute.
A minute, okay, and this is for the affirmative team, correct?
Yes.
Okay, affirmative, 1 minute out of 2, keep in mind that if you are on the negative team, you still have 2 minutes, okay? All right. All right. All right, time is up for that. Y'all have a minute left. As of the affirmative team, negative team, y'all still have 2 minutes to use.
All right.
Okay?
Give you a countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
While the opposing argument stands on that colleges should not adopt a vaccine mandate, the affirmative side believes the need for action outweighs the risk of doing nothing to negate COVID-19 itself, as we try to slow down and end this pandemic that we are still currently going through once and for all. The COVID vaccine is helpful, as my teammate stated, as it is used to protect the general public and reduce the spread of COVID and reduce the severity of COVID symptoms if you were to get COVID. This in turn, also as my teammate has stated, would help students feel safer. The negative argument entitles it's unnecessary. Why are lives unnecessary? You're saying that a vaccine mandate is unnecessary because enough people have gotten it, but you're still weighing those that aren't getting it. There's still plenty of people that are out there that haven't gotten it, that are still subject to get, that are still subject to die from it, as well as people outside this campus. Yes, you did bring up that the vaccines are new. But my rebuttal to that is messenger RNA, so mRNA, the technology behind the Pfizer, which is federally approved, not just emergency approved, and modern vaccines is far from being new. mRNA has been well researched for over 30 years, and there are also lots of studies to back up what it will do and what it won't. Essentially, the vaccines are able to be developed quickly due to a focus conducted by the international science community and studied and tested through various colleges, along with decades worth of evidence and research taken from other respiratory diseases, including MERS and SARS, as reported by the CDC and World Health Organizations. And you did bring up that there is a surge in Europe, and there is a ton of colleges that already have implemented COVID vaccine mandates. In my research, I found on bestcolleges.com a list of colleges that have already implemented vaccine mandates. And yes, they also bring up incentives like you've talked about, or I think you talked about, or it may have been a slight tweak in what you accidentally said. But they brought up incentives and how they encourage people to get the vaccines and that kind of stuff. So I completely agree with you there. But it's the fact of that the need of the many outweighs the need of the few. For those that have already gotten it, congratulations. Like, that's really good, and we're for that. Good job. But for those that haven't gotten it, those are the people we're trying to reach, and we're trying to make sure everybody feels safe on this campus. We're trying to make sure everybody is entitled to their opinion, so we are for exemptions. We're not trying to say exemptions out of the question. If we were to state that exemptions are null and void with the COVID vaccine mandate, then that means all the exemptions of the history of all the other vaccine mandates that have been put into place it's like we're contradicting ourselves. Exemptions are still there. And another part is that, speaking of that, we've already had vaccine mandates in this country before for colleges. We've had the meningitis, the hepatitis, and she was talking about how you have to get multiple shots for the COVID vaccine because of multiple variants. Well, that's what we have to do with hepatitis B. You have to have 2 to 4 shots to be fully immune to the hepatitis virus. And so that is null and void. Sorry, I'm trying to get back. I lost my place. Sorry. So, going back to what I was saying, like, yes, we are the age group that is at less risk of. We are at the age group that is less risk of first also getting the COVID, but also dying from COVID. But that also makes it confined to the campus. We also have faculty and staff on campus that is at higher risk, as well as people we interact with our everyday lives. Going to the store, seeing our family, like we're about to go to Thanksgiving, and we're about to see our elderly grandparents and great aunts, as well as very newborn kids. And so we're not just doing it for ourselves here on campus to feel safe. We're doing it for everybody around us that we will come in contact inevitably. The leaders in education in this country have a responsibility to protect themselves and their communities. Safety in this country is not a guarantee. It is a tool that ourselves must employ. It will be smart of us not to repeat the events of 2020 in these upcoming years. Thank you.
Give me just a moment.
No worries. Charlie, right?
Yep, that's me. All right.
Is it IE or Y?
IE.
Okay. I got it right.
Good.
Oh, yeah, I can count you down if you want.
Oh, I'm good.
All right.
Okay, I am so glad that you brought up exemptions, because I definitely agree. We need to have exemptions. Religious exemptions, super important. And reservations against the FDA is also extremely important. So a couple things to note about the FDA. According to CBC News, the FDA approved OxyContin in 1995.
this was already known to have long-term side effects and potential for abuse. And in 2001, the FDA, still having this knowledge, was pressured by pharmaceutical companies as well as patients suffering with severe pain to expand the use of OxyContin to anyone with chronic ailments which cause pain. So it's really important to bring up that not everyone trusts the FDA. The FDA website even states that the main consumer watchdog in this system is the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, otherwise known as CDER. Again, according to the website, this center does not test the drugs itself, although it does conduct limited research in the areas of drug quality, safety, and effectiveness standards. Again, it doesn't actually research. For example, a drug intended to treat patients with a life-threatening disease for which no other therapy exists may be considered to have benefits that outweigh the risks, even if those risks would be considered unacceptable for a condition that is not life-threatening. In this case, COVID. COVID is considered to be life-threatening. They can and have the ability to pass it through, even if the COVID vaccine can cause debilitating side effects. So all of this information is publicly available on the FDA website. And according to Helpline, there is no evidence of what would happen to a pregnant person when taking the COVID-19 vaccine. As Macy had stated, pregnant patients were specifically excluded from clinical trials. The United Kingdom's health regulatory body specifically tells their population, if you are pregnant, do not get the vaccine. They state this. So yeah, there's a lot of things we don't know about this vaccine. Now, there's the statement of, this is for liberty, this is for the good of all. Well, Washington versus Harper in 1990, you cannot forcibly inject medication into a non-consenting person's body because that interferes with that person's liberty. Yes, that very word that they threw around. Your liberty is important, guys, and we're here to fight for it. So yes, we're at herd immunity here. We have, over 80% on campus who have the vaccine currently? That's over herd immunity. Dr. Fauci still advised for herd immunity. Now, there are alternatives for those who don't want the vaccine for going to school. They can do online college. We've been doing online college for years. They could also do the masks and social distancing, which you would still have to do even if everyone had the vaccine. Nothing really changes except the number of vaccines goes up. So, according to Best Colleges, like he cited, over 1,000 colleges in the U.S. have vaccine mandates for their residential students. Now, what's interesting is that even in colleges with these vaccine mandates, they have reported spikes in getting COVID cases. And the spikes have been caused by natural disasters, such as the power outages in Texas in February. So when that occurred, there was a spike in COVID cases because these individuals took care of each other. They took care of these other students. And when they didn't have running water, somebody who did allowed them over. They didn't have electricity, somebody who did allowed them to eat. So because of this, there was a COVID spike, regardless of the fact that vaccinations were rampant. So I believe it is super important for vaccines to be, everyone who wants to get a vaccine should get a vaccine. Totally agree with that. However, if you have reservations about the FDA,